finally tonight, archaeologists in Egypt made a groundbreaking discovery this week.
The entire thing is basically an active excavation site.
Discovery made headline news all over the world and really sort of captured public imagination.
And there was this giant stone head gazing back at
The pile of bones, you put her here, and all of a sudden you can see that it was a living person.
What comes to your mind when I say the word desert? Aladdin and his genie? The large, never-ending sand dunes and huge pyramids with their hidden golden treasures, right? But their mystery is actually deeper than that. It's filled with unbelievable adventures and crazy discoveries that defy explanations. So tag along to witness the truth about deserts that will leave you shocked.
An elusive creature.
Looks like Jinee from Tales of Aladdin is not the only mysterious entity that makes people curious about the desert and its hidden secrets. This weird creature was spotted walking in the middle of the Portuguese desert. It truly looked like an alien from another planet. The white-colored tall body made people believe that it was definitely not from this planet. Although it resembles me as well when I got back home from work all tired and messy, just waiting to hop onto my bed. Maybe this alien creature came back from the office too. Or maybe it just got a little scolding from his wife. What the creature was and where it came from was never found. Monolith of Yola. A metal piece standing in the middle of a quiet desert? Yes.
Just a completely unearthly image. It's this big triangular prism.
This discovery in the Yola Desert in November 2020 left people questioning the secrets of Yola. This object called Yola monolith was a metal pillar that stood in a red sandstone slot canyon. The pillar was said to be 9.8 feet and made of metal sheets, riveted into a triangular prism.
looking like some kind of otherworldly portal.
It stood unnoticed for over 4 years until its discovery and removal in late 2020. As beautiful and simple as it looks, the makers of this strange metal object are still unknown. And so is the reason for it being there. Unfinished Aswan obelisk. Located in the northern region of stone quarries of ancient Egypt in Aswan, lies the largest known unfinished obelisk. The unfinished obelisk is nearly 1/3 larger than any ancient Egyptian obelisk ever erected. The obelisk's creators began to carve it directly out of bedrock, but cracks appeared in the granite, which became the reason why it was left unfinished. This unfinished piece of art is now an open museum for people to come and enjoy. Yeah, you should take this as a sign and pack your bags for Egypt now. Desert fish. A fish in the desert? Yes. This fish found in the desert by a man was not like any regular fish living in the sea. This creature preferred living in the warm sands of a desert. Researchers said that this sandfish, called Khentkaus, was a species of skink that burrowed into the sand and literally swam through it.
هذا المخلوق العجيب اللطيف سبحان الله.
Inhabiting the deserts of northern Africa and Saudi Arabia, they usually have a length of 20 centimeters. It possessed the ability to dive into the soft sand, or it closed its bead-like eyes to prevent the sand from entering it. It surely looks amazing in the sand, but I would definitely not want to encounter one during my journey. Whale graveyard. This discovery done in 2010 in the Atacama Desert in Chile will surely leave you in shock. 40 fossil whale skeletons were discovered in Carabelina, hidden for millions of years. These were once healthy animals that washed up into an estuary after passing away and then stayed buried for many years. Researchers found that all these were poisoned by the toxins that can be generated by the algae blooms. Because of these blooms, all the marine animals suddenly passed away. This discovery became the reason for the popularity of the Atacama, as the area is now known to be the world's richest site for fossils. Poisonous creature. The desert and its secrets never fail to amaze anyone. This snake-like lizard was found in the desert, which made people believe in desert monsters. It greatly resembled the Gila monster, which is a species of venomous lizard native to the southwestern United States. and the northwestern Mexican state of Sonora. The Gila monster is sluggish in nature, so it is generally not dangerous and very rarely poses a real threat to humans. But the question is, was it really the Gila monster, or was it some other monster? The truth remains a mystery. Mummified croc. All the talk about Egypt, and how can we forget about the mummies? In 2019, while researching for an undisturbed tomb at Quobet al-Awahi, a necropolis on the western bank of the Nile River, some archaeologists came across something they didn't expect. They stumbled upon a cache of mummified crocs. Upon closer examination, researchers said these crocs were preserved in a different manner than the mummies usually found. These 10 mummified reptiles actually didn't have any resin coating, as they had different preservation levels. The absence of resin helped the scientists to get a deeper understanding of the fossils. Now that's what I want to talk about, a real Sobek mummy, isn't it? Horned kangaroo fossils. Several discoveries were made in the archaeological digs in Australia, but this one will truly shock you. In 2002, a bunch of digs were found in an explored area of the Australian desert, and the archaeologists were busy studying each of them in depth. While researching, they came across the remains of a kangaroo that seemed to have horns. Well, sorry to break your excitement, but those were not the actual horns. When the researchers studied them deeply, they got to know that those protrusions were actually there to function as a kind of shield to protect the kangaroo's eyeballs. Well, we must say that these animals had a great protecting mechanism. Man, I envy them. Gateway to hell. As interesting as its name, this discovery will make you run to ask forgiveness for your sins. Just kidding. It's not an actual gateway to hell. Or maybe it is. This hell's little sister, also known as the Darwaza crater, was discovered in the 1980s and has been burning ever since. It's actually a burning natural gas field collapsed into a cavern near Darwaza, Turkmenistan. Although how the crater was formed is a mystery, some common assumptions include the hole that was been leaking methane. But don't worry, the engineers ignited the crater to prevent poisonous gas from spreading. So you're almost safe. Dinosaur in Gobi Desert. As large as the Mongolian Gobi Desert is, its discoveries spread wide like it. In 1993, Mark Norell discovered a fossilized dinosaur egg that contained a curled-up, oviraptoid dinosaur embryo from 80 million years ago. Like many other discoveries, this one raised many questions too. Oviraptors were toothless, beaked, and feathered dinosaurs that were kind of like a mashup of birds and reptiles. So, if that egg had hatched, what could have happened? A dinosaur walking on the roads, or maybe flying around like a chickenosaurus? The Great Sphinx. This ancient sculpture of Giza, said to be one of the most ancient and historical sculptures of the world, is Egypt's most famous landmark and is arguably the best-known example of Sphinx art. Measuring 240 feet in length and 66 feet in height, the Sphinx dates back to the reign of King Khafre, who ruled during the 4th dynasty of the Old Kingdom of Egypt. It is believed to depict Khafre's face, merging human intelligence and royal authority with the strength of a lion. The human face is adorned with a royal headdress, symbolizing the pharaoh's divine power. Carved from a single piece of limestone, this gigantic piece of art took 300 years to build, considering that 100 workers were working on it. As the sun rises and sets over the Giza Plateau, the Sphinx stands as an eternal sentinel, watching over the sands of time and guarding the mysteries of ancient Egypt. Mummy in Egyptian Oasis. An archaeologist named Mohammed Afifi, along with his team, while digging up in Egypt, found something strange. A mummy of a lady dating back to the Roman Empire in a newly uncovered complex of tombs in a desert oasis. Researchers said that the 3-foot-tall remains were covered in intricate molded plaster that showed it wearing a tunic, scarf, necklace, bracelet, and shoes. Further research uncovered said that it was the first Roman-style mummy found in Bahrir Oasis, some 186 miles southwest of Cairo. It also lies among one of the best preserved remains from the 3rd century BC to the 3rd century AD. Wooden statue of Khapur. Khapur, also known as Sheikh el-Beled, was an ancient Egyptian scribe and priest who lived around 2500 BCE. Even though his rank was not that high, he is still known because of his fine wooden statue. The Egyptian diggers that unearthed it, impressed by its exceptional realism, called it Sheikh el-Beled, which means headman of the village, probably because of the certain similarity between the statue and their local elder. This 3.67 feet long statue carved from sycamore wood now lies in the Cairo Egyptian Museum. What do you think about it? 17 unknown mummies. This discovery, done in the village of Tuna El-Gabala by a group of archaeologists in Egypt, truly left people astonished. Sure, seeing mummies in Egypt is no longer a surprise, but 17 at once? Something is weird here. The necropolis, which was 8 meters below ground level, dates back to the late period of ancient Egypt and the Greco-Roman period. Although how they were buried together remains a dark secret. This surely sets another great example of the greatness of Egypt and its secrets. Desert breath. At first glance, this may look like some getaway to another world, or a weird pattern drawn by some witches. But the discovery was actually a monumental land art installation in the Sahara Desert. This artwork is a collaborative effort done back in 1997 by the artist Jinee Strato, industrial designer Alexandria Strato, and the architect Stella Constantes. Covering the area of about 1 million square feet, this art is meant to be an exploration of infinity against the backdrop of the largest African desert. Although it's in a slow state of disintegration, it remains viewable some 17 years after its completion. What do you think about it? Shipwreck. Have you ever seen a ship in the middle of the desert? Well, I'm not talking about any scene from Pirates of the Caribbean, but an actual sight. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, the US state of California got several reports about this mysterious ship found in the middle of the desert. Legends about this ship have been circling around for centuries, while no one could understand how the huge object ended up there. But that's not all, they even had treasure inside of them. Researchers said that this ship once sailed the seas, but then got stuck in the shallow waters. Eventually, the sea shrank due to climate changes and the hidden ship was buried deep under the sand. Sand River. We've seen many strange discoveries in the desert, but how can we miss out on weird phenomena that occur there? Such as this shocking sight that occurred in Iraq in 2015. A river flowing in the middle of the desert. Yes! And it was not a common river, but a river of sand. At first glance, this looks like flowing sand. Something that seems normal, right? But that's not all. A ball of ice that is also mixed with sand. I know this surprised you, but not more than the locals that witnessed it in person. And something similar happened in Saudi Arabia too. Looking like a waterfall, this was actually a sandfall. Researchers said this is a phenomenon that occurs due to the changes in weather, which causes the sand to be pushed by the wind, which causes the sand to fall from the cliff. Petra. Situated in Jordan, connecting the Gulf of Aqaba in the Dead Sea, stands the treasure from antiquity, the ancient city of Petra. Hidden behind a barrier of rugged mountains, this majestic site never fails to astonish people. Famous for its rock-cut architecture and water conduit system, it is also called the Rose City because of the color of the sandstone from which it is carved. Moreover, UNESCO has described Petra as one of the most precious cultural properties of man's cultural heritage. It is truly the treasure of Jordan, isn't it? Stone hinges of Nabta Playa. We all know about the stone hinges in England. These ancient mysterious hinges were found in southern Egypt as well. These stones found in Nabta Playa were arranged in a circle exactly like the ones in England, though they were pretty small in size as compared to the ones in England or even Scotland. They were said to be at least 8,000 years old. As analyzed by Thomas Brophy and Robert Bouval, along with other researchers, they found that it didn't only connect with Orion, but also had some astrological anomalies associated with it. What those anomalies truly were remains a truth untold. Hand of the Desert. A sculpture of a gigantic hand reaches for the stars in the middle of the Atacama Desert. This 11-meter tall hand protruding out of the sand left people astonished. Anyone might think of it as a monster coming out from the sand at first glance that will definitely make them run for their lives. But researchers found out that the object, named Mano di Cerreto, was actually an artwork of the Chilean sculptor Mario Isabella. The motion of the hands rising from the ground was an obsession of Isabella. Artists surely never fail to surprise us with their artworks. Nefertiti's statue. The bust of Nefertiti, found on December 6, 1912, during an excavation at the Middle Egyptian site of Tel El Marana, left people absolutely shocked. This beautifully carved statue, now placed in a museum, has a perfect face symmetry. From the extremely delicate hair of its eyebrows, applied in cross-hatched lines, to the eyes made from beeswax dyed black, this piece of art truly set examples of art in the ancient time. But there was something strange in that statue. Its inlay from the left eye was missing. Soon after its discovery, the researchers ordered a search for the missing piece. Though a few fragments of the ear were found, the inlay was nowhere to be found, only because it actually never existed. The left eye socket was left empty because it would have been identical to the right one, clearly indicating that this piece is a model. Mojave phone booth. Ever wondered how ghosts communicate with each other over a distance? Well, we didn't know until we came across this discovery and saw this mysterious phone booth in the middle of the desert. Just kidding. We did our homework on it, so we know the history behind it. It was actually set up in 1948 at the request of Emerson Ray to provide telephone services to local volcanic cinder miners and others living in the area. The Mojave phone booth soon replaced an earlier booth 30 miles to the south. The abandoned photo booth was removed on May 17, 2000, at the request of the National Park Service. Work of fairies. Almost too perfect to be made by nature, these rings were said to be the work of fairies, or Namibian fairy rings, because they can only be found in the Namib Desert of South Africa. Although in 2014, the same type of jewelry also emerged in West Australia. Researchers said that this shape took place as the result of the stimulated grass that the area tended to grow around random patches of dirt, leaving the center empty for some reason. Since no actual reason was found, these were actually believed to be the work of some hidden fairies. Rosetta Stone. Some stones hide more secrets in them than a person would, and this piece of art will tell you how. The Rosetta Stone, found in July 1799, was a memorial that used to be between the paws of the Sphinx in Egypt. It was the first ancient Egyptian bilingual text recovered in modern times, and it aroused widespread public interest. When the British defeated the French, they took the stone to London under the terms of the Capitulation of Alexandria, 1801. This special stone bears 3 inscriptions: the top register in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, the second in the Egyptian Demotic script, and the third in ancient Greek. As this stone is now placed in the British Museum in London, you can now run to check this one out without having to go all the way to Egypt. Gold rings. The discoveries of the ancient Egypt's riches continues to be an intriguing adventure as we look into that treasure, like what was found in this mysterious burial from ancient Egypt. Archaeologists in Egypt, while doing their usual digs, found 3 gold rings in the northern part of the ancient city Akhetaten, about 186 miles south of Cairo. One of the rings had the engraved image of Bes, who was known as the god of fun. a deity which is depicted to be a dwarf, who, in addition to playing music and having fun, also protected women during childbirth. It was never discovered who the burial was for, or why were the jewels buried with them. What do you think? Did it belong to an ancient queen, or will it remain a truth untold? Queen Tomb. Nothing excites the archaeologist more than discovering the tombs of previous royalty figures like this one. At the end of 2014, Miroslav Barta, head of the Czech Institute of Egyptology, found the tomb of Queen Khentkaus III. The tomb was found in Abu Sir, southwest of Cairo, and was assumed to belong to the wife or the mother of the pharaoh Nefertiti, who ruled 4,500 years ago. Soon, the Egyptian minister said that the name Khentkaus was inscribed on the wall of the necropolis, so it confirmed the owner of the tomb. As the dust settled, the tomb revealed its secrets, forever altering our understanding of the queen's legacy. Mount Nemrut in Turkey. Easter Island isn't the only place where we can find mysterious face sculptures, and today you'll know why. One of the highest peaks in the east of Taurus Mountain, called the Nemrut Mountain, is a 2,134-meter high mountain full of mysterious statues. In 62 BC, King Antiochus I of Comanche built a tomb sanctuary on the top of the mountain, flanked by huge statues. The statues were once seated with the names of each god inscribed on them. At some point, the heads of the statues were removed from the bodies, and they are said to be scattered throughout the site. Although the reason behind that remains a mystery, this place has now become a famous tourist attraction. So what are you waiting for? Turkey is waiting for you. Mummified cats. Alright, all cat lovers like me, gather around, because this discovery of ancient Egypt is all about cats. In Egypt, cats were considered the sacred animals. In the city of Bubastis, where many mummified cats were discovered, people dedicated them at the sanctuary of the cat goddess Bastet as offerings. Cats were also pets, just as they are today, but they were mummified and placed at the tomb of their owners. People believe that placing the cats with their owners in the same tomb can help them reunite in the afterlife. Man, when I pass away, please bury me next to my cat too. Solar Observatory. This discovery, done in the barren desert between Andes Mountain and the Pacific Ocean, left people in shock. The archaeologists found this wonder of the world and were curious about its purpose.
Tower number 13 matches perfectly the position of the sun during the December solstice.
13 stone towers set on a ridge. Some called it the tail of the alligator because of its shape, while some believed it to be a lunar calendar marking the waxing and the waning of the moon. The truth was uncovered by an archaeologist named Ivan Gessi after studying them for 2 decades. By observing the rising and the setting arcs of the sun, he came to the conclusion that it was a solar calendar, including some lunar elements. Whoa! Calendars of this time definitely cannot relate to this one. Baby statue in desert. A sleeping giant baby found in the desert? Just kidding. Well, a baby was actually found in the middle of the Gobi Desert, but it was not a real human baby. This sculpture, called the Son of the Earth, was truly a masterpiece created by Dong Shubing of Xingu University in the Gobi Desert of Hongshambo. This 15-meter long, 4.3 meter high, and 9 meter wide baby sculpture meant that we all are the children of the earth. The professor said that the reason for the construction of this artwork was to protect the local living environment. The artist for sure had deep thinking. What do you think about it? Camel sculptures in Saudi. These life-size images of extinct camel species carved into the stones of the Saudi desert will surely amaze you. While the site named Sahut had been recognized by other archaeologists for some time, this was the first time someone had discovered camel gravings on the rocks. What was even more interesting was the fact that most of them were male, as the craving had an organ named dula that used to hang out of the mouth of a male camel. The scientists assumed that these carvings could have been made during the mating season that occurs between November and March. What do you think about it? Matria Sun Temple. Archaeologists from Leipzig University's Institute of Egyptology made significant progress in uncovering more remains of the Matria Sun Temple. Nestled in the ancient city of Heliopolis near Cairo, Egypt, lies this mysterious temple, aptly named the City of the Sun. Heliopolis was the cultural center of the sun god Atum. Traces of white ash flooring and mud brick structures were found in this temple, along with quartzite stones from the time of Horemheb, the last pharaoh of the 18th dynasty. These findings contribute to the understanding of the pre-dynastic city and offer new avenues for exploration in Egypt. Welwitschia plant. We all know about cactuses when it comes to discovering desert plants, but today I have something extraordinary for you. This Welwitschia plant is a monotypic genus of the family Welwitschia and is one of the 3 living genera in Genopti. This plant was named after the Austrian botanist and doctor Friedrich Welwitsch, who described the plant in 1859. Unlike cactuses, these plants are known for their large strap-like leaves that grow continuously along the ground, and they can be touched. Next time you go on your trip to a desert, you better look for these too. Artifacts found in Egypt. The discovery of Egyptian pottery never fails to surprise people. These artifacts were found neatly stacked up at the corners of the city. On studying them further, it was found that these ceramic objects were essential for storing, preparing, and transporting various commodities such as food, beverages, and other materials. Not only were these used as ceramics, researchers said that they were used in the ceremonial and the religious rituals, as they discovered some vessels specifically crafted for offerings and liberations to gods and ancestors. So, what are your thoughts on it? Group hibernation. This discovery done by a man will make you scratch the back of your head. While digging up mud, this man stumbled upon something that looked like a giant single organism at the first glance, but it was actually a group of soft-shelled turtles stacked upon each other almost as if they had a very clear plan. Researchers said that in winter the turtles enter a kind of hibernation. They can even spend several months underground or in the depths of mud, depending upon their species. So it could have been a group hibernation, but we are still unsure about this weird discovery, as the scientists have left no comments on it yet. Mysterious animals' bones. This man stumbled upon some weird structures while peacefully strolling, and what he discovered on getting closer shocked him. A group of bones that were hard to distinguish. Although some of them looked like the carcass of a cow's head or the beak of some ancient giant bird, it was still not clear what it could be, or if it was an animal, or maybe a human being. What do you think about it? Video game cartridges. A large number of documentary makers on their work discovered a large number of extraterrestrial video game cartridges that were made by Atari Incorporated in a Mexico landfill. These 800,000 cartridges were known to be the worst video game ever made, and the reason for the decline of Atari in the 1980s. This game was made in a hurry to coincide with the release of the successful movie named E.T. the Extraterrestrial in the same year. Since the game was a great failure, Atari had buried all the cartridges in a deep trench on a 300-acre property in the New Mexico desert. Man, I low-key feel bad for Atari. I mean, if I were the creator, I definitely would not have the courage to throw all of the precious video games away. Joseph in Egypt. Now, this is another incredible discovery made in the land of Egypt. Researchers discovered the remarkable inscription written around the 4th century BC. This discovery, made an island just below the first cataract of the Nile, surprised many people. It was said to be a copy of the document written by the Pharaoh Joseph more than 1,000 years earlier. Although not much could be comprehended from the centuries-old writing, it was believed to be the story of land grant made by the pharaoh to the priests. Subscribers pick. Now it's time for the most awaited one of all these shocking discoveries, our subscribers pick of the day. This image was sent to us by one of our subscribers, so if you have any image that is perhaps disturbing your sleep routine, you can send it to us. Who knows, we might solve the puzzle that has been confusing you. In the Marshinian Desert of West Africa, a huge fossil resembling one of the most famous mythical creatures was found that left people in shock. These 9,569-meter-long fossil remains almost seem like a dragon from some ancient era. Like you must have seen some in Game of Thrones or the House of Dragon. But unlike the fictional world, these were real. Researchers could clearly see the fossilized contours of the head and even an eye in the remains. What it actually was remains a mystery. Could it be evidence of the existence of actual dragons? What do you think? That's it for today. Comment down what you like the most. Don't forget to like and subscribe.